Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr., and welcome to another classic movie review. So, this is my review of the 1958 horror classic The Fly from director Kurt Neumann. This film stars David Hedison, Vincent Price, and Patricia Owens. David Hedison, of course, plays the main character, the scientist, who is Andre in the film, and builds the machine, the teleportation machine, where he decides to experiment on himself and has that terrible mishap that backfires drastically. And as the film goes on, he slowly becomes this monster and takes a toll on his life and family. I love the remake that came out in '86 from David Lynch. I think Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis were incredible in that film. The body horror, the practical effects, the makeup is almost unparalleled. And it's up there with 1982's The Thing from John Carpenter. It's just one of the all-time greatest horror films, not just remakes, as well as '82's The Thing. The makeup effects in this film aren't going to hold a candle to the 1986 film. That's just kind of a given. I mean, this is the '50s. But the way this film is executed, it's definitely done in a less is more approach. As we first see after he has the accident, we don't see his body changing right away. He's wearing a sheet because he doesn't want to show his wife what's happening to him. Being covered up and trying to communicate with her, all he can do is sort of write things down. And you see he has one normal arm and he's trying to cover up the arm that's starting to become deformed. In the film, Andre's wife, played by Patricia Owens, who plays Helen, she does her best to be supportive and stand by his side. But as the film goes on, the fear sort of sinks in more and more as she sees what's happening to him. And once the sheet comes off and she sees underneath, that fear sort of translates outward onto the viewer. And you feel that fear, especially because these characters are so likable at first, especially when the movie begins. They seem like a really nice family, and they have a little son, Philippe. Philippe has to sort of help out by sort of catching this fly, because the fly that was in the machine, they're trying to find it because, of course, part of it has a piece of Andre. And so throughout the film, Helen is trying to search for this fly, and whenever somebody swats at a fly or it looks like somebody's about to kill a fly, it could be him, of course. So, yeah, and then the little boy is out with the little net trying to find it. And towards the end, there's a very iconic scene that is, for me, very effective, very unnerving for a 1958 film. This movie is just a great sci-fi horror premise. And like I said, not advanced heavy makeup, but this does use that less is more approach, and very, very effective. There is quite a bit of blood. Not too much, but you will see some blood in this movie because there is one shot where you see a hydraulic press and you see what it has done to somebody. And without giving anything away, just by telling you, I don't want to give away the context of that, but yeah, you do see a shot of an arm sticking out and a nice big pool of blood. So there are some old '50s horror movies that make use of blood. Just look at, if you ever take a look at some of the old Christopher Lee Dracula movies, a lot of the old Hammer horror films, blood was being used in old horror movies back in the day, just not to the extent that we're used to later on in the '70s, '80s, and '90s, and so on. But as far as classic horror films go, this is a great example of top-tier classic horror. And the performances in this film are great. It's definitely Vincent Price. He's always great. I'm a big fan of him. Love his work in the original House of Wax, of course. Big fan of the original House of Haunted Hill. And he's just one of those great voices, great on-screen voices and personas. Has a great look to him. And sometimes you don't know whether you can trust him or not just because he's Vincent Price. For anyone that's a fan of that 1986 film, they should definitely check out the original, because everything that they loved about that '86 film in terms of story, not the effects wise, because like I said, this is the '50s, but if you really like that story and if you want to see another version of it, the 1958 version still holds up in terms of directing, in terms of screenwriting, in terms of pace, in terms of tone. It's very eerie, very unsettling, very disturbing, even for a '50s film. And if you get into it, it can definitely give you that creep factor. And I just love the vibe of old films. And you give me an old classic horror film, that surprises me because it's an old film, and usually these old horror films do surprise me, especially when they're done so well. I have seen this film on streaming. I've seen it on Hulu, I've seen it on Amazon Prime, but these old films do get taken off from time to time and switched around. So if you want to get yourself a hard copy, they're out there. This is my copy of the Blu-ray. It is a bona fide classic. Highly recommend it. It is a great watch. So that's going to do it for me for this classic movie review. Thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to comment, share, like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications for more classic movie reviews coming your way, and look out for the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Peace.